Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Oris Diver 65. This watch is available from oris.ch in two versions. On the leather strap you're looking at, the price is 1,900 Swiss francs, which equates to 1,800 euro. On the stainless steel bracelet the price is 2,100 Swiss francs, which equates to 2,000 euro. So firstly let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with a piece. So the Oris Diver 65 comes in this grey outer box. One removes the lid, pulls down the flap, and inside I'll show you the inner watch box. In the base of the outer box there is a booklet, very aesthetically pleasing as you can see. One opens the booklet and inside in the centre section we have a very thick owner's instruction manual. The reason why it's a thick owner's instruction manual is because it's translated into multiple foreign languages. Clear, concise diagrams, high definition pictures, and it goes into the detail of operating every aspect of the Diver 65, including the Oris Caliber 733 automatic movement. So a very useful read and very nice presentation. So this is the watch box itself. I like the vintage aesthetic of the branding. One removes the lid, and the watch sits on a padded pillow cushion, nicely executed, fully upholstered with a velour fabric. One also gets a price tag with the full reference number of the piece for the Diver 65, and on the reverse we have the British price point, which is £1,400. And lastly, one also gets this Oris book, as you can see, called Mechanical Poetry, Stories of Modern Watchmaking by Oris. So this is a very interesting read because it details every aspect of the brand, including the brand history, and it also details all their novelties. It goes into great detail, every aspect of all the watches in their current collection, the storytelling of the brand, the thinking behind the movements used, and also the watches with their features, as you can see. Clear, concise diagrams, high definition pictures, and also their innovations. So I really like it. I found this a very interesting read because it goes into great detail about every model, every novelty that Oris currently has in their collection, and more information than one can gain from their website. So this really is a very nice book to read, Mechanical Poetry. So with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Oris Diver 65. On the Oris website, oris.ch, the case diameter is detailed as 40mm, but the actual diameter of this case is 38.8mm. There is an overhang to the bezel. The bezel measures 40mm, which overhangs the 38.8mm case, so therefore it wears like a 40mm due to the bezel overhang. Despite being under that size, it's actually 38.8. The lug-to-lug measurement is 48mm and it has a thickness of 12.9mm. The lug width is 20mm and the calf leather strap tapers from 20mm at the lugs down to the buckle and tang. As you can see, the stainless steel buckle and tang is signed to a high standard with the Oris brand logo. Nice thick gauge of metal to the 316L grade stainless steel buckle and tang, brush satin finish throughout, very aesthetically pleasing. Two keepers on the calf leather strap, one slides, one's fixed as one would expect. Flawless stitching throughout. Now it is a very thick calf leather strap and one would expect it to be stiff and take some breaking in, but it's actually surprisingly supple for a thick leather strap. I was immediately surprised. It feels like a silicone rubber strap. That's how much flex one is getting with it. Now it's interesting that it's thicker at the spring bar end, as you can see, and it's got a gradual taper down to the buckle and tang end, and Oris deserve full credit for not just using a parallel straight thick strap, which would be very stiff and uncomfortable. So I like the fact it's thicker at the spring bar end, which is an area of straps that tend to split and crack with regular wear and tear. So thicker where it needs to be, and thinner at the buckle and tang end to make it easier to engage in the two keepers and also the buckle and tang. Plenty of holes in the strap to allow for fine-tuning the adjustment. Nice grained finish to the top side of the calf leather strap, and it's got a nice smooth underside which feels very comfortable against the wrist to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. So an excellent quality calf leather strap. One thing I like is the use of quick release spring bars, so one doesn't need a spring bar tool to remove the strap and fit the bracelet or alternative straps, and I think that Oris deserve credit for using quick release stainless steel spring bars, and it is an improvement over the conventional spring bar. So with regards to the rest of the specification, double dome sapphire crystal, and we have clear anti-reflective coating on the underside, and the AR coating does an outstanding job of reducing the glare and the highly reflective nature of the silver baton hands and also the silver applied indices. One of my favourite features of the Oris Diver 65 is the grey graduated dial. It's darker around the chapter ring, and in the centre section it's lighter, and I like that graduation of the matte finish to the grey dial. It's a very aesthetically pleasing dial tone. The other thing I really like about it is the use of old radium superluminova. This makes a refreshing change from using patina lume or alternatively white lume, for example BGW9. And I really like the old radium superluminova because it gives it a vintage aesthetic. Originally watches used radium as the exciter in the luminova, and then radium was highly radioactive, so then it was succeeded by tritium, which was also radioactive but less so safer to use, and then tritium was superseded by luminova and then superluminova. So I like the tone of radium. This old radium superluminova gives that aesthetic of a vintage piece, but without the radioactivity, of course, and it's just beautiful to look at, both on the hands and also the applied indices. I like the green tone of it. It really is beautiful to look at, and it works very well with a matte grey graduated dial. It's a lovely contrast between the green and the grey. I like the use of a double dome sapphire crystal. It gives the watch a vintage aesthetic, but of course sapphire crystal is more scratch resistant than Hesalite or plexiglass, which would have been used, and also acrylic in the 1960s. The Diver 65, as the name suggests, was originally made in 1965. So effectively this is like a heritage reissue of that 1965 dive piece, but with modern day specifications such as the enhancements of sapphire crystal rather than using acrylic, Hesalite or plexiglass. And I like the fact they've used a double dome sapphire crystal rather than single domes. If they had used a single dome sapphire crystal, which is flat on the underside and domed on the top side, it would have more of a magnification and distortion effect when one tilts the piece at an oblique angle. But by using a double dome sapphire crystal, which is curved on the underside and the top side, it reduces the magnification effect and also it reduces the distortion. The clear AR coating is also a notable enhancement, and it just captures all the essence of the vintage 1965 dive piece, but with modern day enhancements, AR coating and sapphire crystal. So 120 click unidirectional bezel. I like the 60-minute ticks all the way around the aluminium bezel insert. Again, the aluminium bezel insert is the correct choice. Now, collectors could argue that ceramic would be more scratch resistant, and that is true, but really it wouldn't fit the aesthetic of the 65. I think the aluminium bezel insert has that vintage look. I also like the gear tooth profile to the solid 316L grade stainless steel bezel. Beautifully finished, beautiful mirror polishing to the teeth in the gear tooth profile bezel. So let's test the bezel action. Light resistance, it's actually surprisingly light. To give you an idea, it's lighter than a Seiko bezel action and lighter than a Steinhardt Ocean 1. But it does have good solid indexing to the clicks, nice firm ratcheting mechanism, and I like the feeling of it. No lateral side-to-side play whatsoever, it feels good and tight. No back play whatsoever, so I'll just check the alignment. Nice loud audible clicks to the 120 clicks. It feels even in resistance all the way through the 360 degrees of rotation. Perfect alignment. The lume pip and triangle at 12 o'clock perfectly align with the 12 o'clock index on the dial. So this is a very well executed bezel, and Oris deserve full credit for excellent quality control, build quality, and also the execution of it. It feels good. No lateral side-to-side play, no back play, light resistance, but perfect bezel alignment. With regards to the crown, it's solid 316L grade stainless steel, coin edge finished, signed with the Oris brand logo. Mirror polished domed cap to it, very aesthetically pleasing, and it does look like a vintage crown. It's like a big crown that Rolex would have used in the 1960s, and it really does work very well with the aesthetic of the 65. So let's test the action. Absolutely silky smooth. This is a very good crown action. The caliber 733, which is based upon the Sellita SW200-1, has a characteristic pop. It pushes the winding stem out of the movement when one unscrews the crown. So in the first position is the manual wind position, and one can manually wind the caliber 733 to top it up to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. Very satisfying to feel the tension in the mainspring gradually build up. Now, the caliber 733, as I've detailed, is based upon the SW200-1, so that is a date complication movement. So the date wheel does still exist underneath the dial, and therefore in the first click position, it is the date complication position. But as you can see, there is no date window. So in the first position, the first click, it is the date setting position. So bear in mind, it does have a phantom date setting position, which one isn't going to use. Pulling it out to the second click is the time setting position, and I have now hacked the movement. As you can see, I have now hacked the second hand dead, so it feels silky smooth. I like the firm resistance both in manual winding and also in time setting position of the SW200-1. It's a very solid feeling to it. I like the firm resistance of it. It feels more firm than a Seiko NH35A, for example, if you're familiar with the feeling of that. It feels silky smooth, both clockwise and anti-clockwise. Absolute pleasure to set the time. Pushing it back in, it's got a nice positive click, and that restarts the movement. As you can see, the second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again. So I'll just test screwing it back down again. Immediate thread pickup. This is outstanding crown action. It feels very similar to Rolex in terms of its performance. The interface between the internal thread of the solid stainless steel crown and the external thread of the crown tube are very well. The cutting of the threads is very good. So the machining quality of the threading is very good, and Oris deserve full credit because this is something they do in-house. They produce the cases, the crown tubes and the crowns entirely in-house in Holstein in Switzerland, rather than buying in the parts from other manufacturers. And the crown action is something that Oris do very well. It really is Rolex quality. Now, the crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters, and I'm going to be critical of this because really there's no reason why a screw down crown shouldn't be able to provide an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters, as also the screw down stainless steel caseback should do. So I would like to see Oris upgrade the specification to 200 meters because I'm absolutely confident that the screw down crown and the screw down stainless steel caseback could provide an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters, but it's detailed as 100, which I think is very conservative. Now, as you can see, the screw down solid stainless steel caseback is fully mirror polished to a flawless finish. The flawless mirror polishing means that it's very smooth against the wrist, and it feels very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, such as 8 to 12 hours per day. I like the use of the vintage Oris shield brand emblem. It really does fit the aesthetic of the Oris 65, and also the engraving is done to a very high standard with regards to the specification. Nice milled slots in the screw down stainless steel caseback, and as you can see, it's got a very low profile. It's nice and flat. So the comfort level of this case back against the wrist is very comfortable. Absolutely beautiful to look at. The mirror polishing, flawless mirror polishing to the underside of the case. I like the finishing of the 65, flawless mirror polishing to the flanks of the case. Absolutely gorgeous to look at. Brushed satin finishing to the tops of the lugs, which give it a tool watch aesthetic. Just absolutely gorgeous mirror polishing. It's also got a very low profile case. If you look at the flanks of the case, the thickness of the actual case, it's a very slender, low-profile case. The lugs are thin, and again, this is something that Oris do very well. They have produced a very nicely tapered case shape. It's thin in profile, the thickness of the lugs is also slender, and therefore it makes it a very light piece. This is only 75 grams on the calf leather strap, as you can see, and that is incredibly light for a 40mm piece, although the case is actually 38.8mm. With a double dome sapphire crystal and an automatic movement, I would expect this to be circa 100 grams on the leather strap and circa 150 grams on the stainless steel bracelet. So if you have a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches and you're looking for comfort to wear a 40mm piece for long periods of time, this really is a very comfortable piece because at 75 grams it is exceptionally light. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, the strap is a fraction too short for my 8-inch wrist. As you can see, it's just slightly too short to engage in both of the keepers. But however, if you are a collector with a 6 to 7-inch wrist, this leather strap will fit you no problem whatsoever. But just bear in mind, if you're a collector with a 7 to 8-inch wrist, you may prefer a longer strap. But however, it is also available on the stainless steel bracelet, which of course will fit an 8-inch wrist no problem whatsoever. Very comfortable piece to wear. because it's deceptive. It looks like a 40mm, but bear in mind the bezel overhangs the case. The case is 38.8, so one gets the comfort level of wearing a 38.8mm head of the piece, but the look, the aesthetics of a 40mm piece due to the bezel overhang. Absolutely gorgeous to look at, the double dome sapphire crystal. I like the look of the matte graduated grey dial, which contrasts very well with the green old radium superluminova. It's a deceptively low profile piece. Even though it has a double dome sapphire crystal, it is only 12.9mm thick. Now normally one would expect a piece to be in excess of 13mm with a double dome sapphire crystal if it is automatic, because the case requires extra thickness in order to house the rotor on the automatic movement. 12.9 is the kind of thickness I would expect with a quartz powered piece, alternatively a manual wound piece. So to get that with an automatic powered by the SW200-1 is a credit to Oris's case making capability. It's a very thin and low profile case. I love the tape of the lugs, the low profile shape to the case. It gives it that vintage aesthetic of the 65, and I think it's just a beautiful piece. So very low profile, it's easily going to slip underneath a shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, and the AR coating is highly effective in reducing the glare. So beautiful looking, and I really like the comfort level of the calf leather strap. Even though it's thick, it feels very soft and supple, so it doesn't require any breaking in. Right, so let's do a lume test and we'll see how the lume performs when it's charged up to its absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to its absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. This is top grade superluminova. Oris deserve full credit for not cutting any corners with regards to the quality of the superluminova they're using. So it's called old radium superluminova, but as you can see, it looks very close to C3 superluminova. It has that characteristic green tone. On the baton style hands in particular, it is glowing incredibly brightly, and it really is very good. One can clearly differentiate between the hour hand and the minute hand. I also like the lume dot sweeping around on the second hand, so one can clearly see the second hand in the dark. And the applied indices, perfect symmetry, good orientation to the dial. The lume pip on the aluminium bezel insert is also glowing very brightly. So it's excellent. Really, the old radium superluminova is the correct choice. The green tone of it matches the aesthetic of the Oris 65. It gives it that vintage appeal. So I think it's beautiful, and I think this is the correct choice over using BGW9 superluminova, because blue lume wouldn't look right on a vintage inspired piece. Right, so let's discuss the movement used. It uses the Oris caliber 733. Now, as I've detailed, that is based upon the Sellita SW200-1, which is a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. Oris used the standard grade of the SW200-1, and they add their own red rotor to it and call it the Oris caliber 733. So it runs at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 4 Hz. It has 26 joules and a 40-hour power reserve, which is perfectly acceptable. Hand winding and hacking are useful complications. Now, the stated accuracy of the standard grade of SW200-1 is plus or minus 12 seconds per day to plus or minus 30 seconds per day, so a rather wide accuracy range. However, I'm pleased to report that Oris are regulating the caliber 733, which is based upon the SW200-1, to very good limits. The standard grade of SW200-1 is only regulated in 2 positions, but Oris improve upon that, and they regulate it in 5 positions to better accuracy. I'm pleased to report that this one is consistently running at plus 5 seconds per day when it's fully wound to its maximum 40-hour power reserve. So plus 5 seconds per day is actually within COSC chronometer limits of minus 4 to plus 6 seconds per day. So to get an SW200-1 running at plus 5 seconds per day is excellent. It's actually top grade or chronometer grade accuracy, and I think Oris deserve full credit for that. They are regulating their caliber 733 to very good accuracy. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So on the calf leather strap you're looking at, the price point is €1,800. Yes, this is excellent quality. The specification is good. I like the double dome sapphire crystal with AR coating, and really the quality, control, the finishing, the build quality, the materials are all excellent. But however, I'm going to say that the value is poor. And the reason why I say the value is poor is because this is a 100 metre water resistant piece. At €1,800, 100 metres is disappointing specification. It needs to be 200 metres minimum. Now, the other disappointing aspect of the specification is that it uses the Oris caliber 733. Now, although the SW200-1 is reliable, well-proven workhorse movement, it's not good enough to have an SW200-1 at €1,800. Bear in mind that Steinhardt are using the SW200-1, a lab all grade, in the Ocean 1, and that is only €450, so a significant price difference between the Ocean 139 and the Diver 65, 450 versus 1,800. I would like to see Oris upgrade the movement used in the Diver 65 to the SW300 and keep the same price point of €1,800, because then it goes from being poor value to being excellent value. An SW300 in this Diver 65 would make it excellent quality and excellent value. Now, I'll justify that. I previously reviewed the Monta Noble, and Monta is a micro brand, so they don't have the buying power that Oris do. They don't have the heritage. They're not based in Holstein since 1904. They can't approach Salita and place an order for 1,000 SW300s at a competitive price per piece. The problem micro brands have, like Monta, is when they approach Salita to purchase a batch of movements, there is an MOQ, a minimum order quantity, and Salita will say to them, yes, we can sell you SW300s, but you have to purchase an MOQ of 500 pieces in a batch. Now, Oris have that buying power, so there's no reason why they can't approach Salita and say we would like to buy a batch of 10,000 SW300s and therefore get a competitive MOQ and a competitive price per piece. Monta can't do that. They're a microbrand, but yet they still use the SW300 in their Noble. So it's the SW300 is a higher grade of movement than the SW200, which this is based upon, the Oris caliber 733. So at €1,800, I don't think the SW300 is good enough. Steinhardt are also a micro brand. They are doing it at €450 with the Ocean 139. And really, in 2021, Oris need to improve the specification to 200 meters, and they need to improve the specification of the movement used. They need to upgrade it from an SW200-1 to the SW300 to compete with the likes of Steinhardt and to compete with the likes of Monta, micro brands that are offering better value, better specification pieces at lower price points. So overall, I'm going to declare it excellent quality, but I'm going to declare the value poor. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Oris Diver 65. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.